According to Hungarian mythology, a gigantic and terrifying mythical bird of prey led them to what is now their capital, Budapest. The symbol of the previously nomadic horse lords, called the Turul, was said to have dropped a sword from its talons where Budapest stands today. The word Turul is thought to have a Turkic origin, and the Magyars, or Hungarians, were once neighbours of the Turkic tribes in Central Asia before they migrated to the Carpathian Basin at the turn of the 9th and 10th centuries. From this base, the Hungarians raided deep into Western Europe as far as France and Spain, and instilled equal fear among the inhabitants as Viking raiders from the north did. Before leading them to their homeland, the Turul was said to have acted as a protector to the Magyars. One such myth recounts how eagles, emblematic of the Pechenegs, nomadic Turkic rivals of the Magyars, attacked their horses, and the Turul swooped in to save them. The Turul is also thought to have been the clan symbol of the powerful ruling house of Arpad. Following the alleged dropping of the blade, the Magyars have now made the area their home for more than 1,000 years. Hungary's first king, Istvan, or Stephen, was a heroic figure who unified the formerly semi-nomadic Uralic raiding horse tribes of the Magyars into the unified Christian Kingdom of Hungary when he was crowned in around 1000. But people are often more complicated than that, and this soldier of Christ was involved in some shocking and unforgivable acts against members of his own family. He also suffered great disappointment and left the fledgling country in chaos. The monarch was born as Vaik in around 975, son of the chieftain Gezer. Gezer nominally converted to Christianity following the religion's introduction to the Magyar territory in the Carpathian Basin by Byzantine and Bulgarian missionaries. Before this conversion, the Magyars followed an entirely pagan religion, which had elements of Tengrism, shamanism and animism, consistent with both Turkic and Mongolian steppe tribes, and the Magyars' closely related Siberian kin, the Khanty and Mansi. Tengrism, as in the worship of Tengri, can be seen as similar to the older Indo-European sky god Dios, known to the Greeks as Zeus, and the Proto-Italic as Deus Pater or Skyfather, which morphed into Jupiter among the Latin-speaking Romans. Tengrism was influenced by Eastern religions such as Zoroastrianism from the Persians in modern-day Iran and other more exotic faiths such as Hinduism and Buddhism. The Hungarian origin myth is also similar to that of their one-time Central Asian neighbours, the Huns and Scythians. Common beliefs and practices in Hungarian paganism included human sacrifice, ancestor cults, the worship of sacred trees and springs, and the belief that leading figures were descended from animals. Religious diviner figures, akin to wizards, would attempt to manipulate the elements with magical items such as so-called rainmaker stones. Despite Stephen's conversion, his young kingdom had not seen the last of these older beliefs. The king had already had to fight off a rival, Kopany, and his pagan horde to ascend to the throne in the first place. Stephen defeated Kopany at Veszprém in 997 or 998. The defeated would-be ruler faced a grisly end after either being killed in battle or in his duchy in the southern region of Transdanubia. His body was cut into 4 pieces, which were hung on the walls of the 4 major strongholds in the kingdom, Győr, Veszprém, Esztergom, and Gyulafehérvár. The conflict and brutal destruction of Kopany, who was a fellow member of the powerful Arpad Dynasty, and denial of his previous rights via pagan custom to rulership, meant the new kingdom was born amid a festering schism. That untreated fissure would continue throughout Stephen's reign and long after his death. Another time when the king used exemplary violence to quell support for the old ways lay in the treatment of another perceived threat to his throne. The monarch was said to have occupied his uncle Gyula the Younger's territory in Transylvania, seized Gyula and his family, and forcibly converted them and the entire area. Tragically, Stephen outlived his children and left no heir. This meant the primary claimant to the throne was his cousin Vasil, who it was suspected had pagan leanings. As a result, Stephen overlooked Vasil's claim and nominated his sister's son, Peter Orseolo, a Venetian, as his designated heir. Not content with disinheriting Vasil, what happened next would mark Stephen, perhaps driven by grief over not having a son and heir, or through his fundamentalist devotion to his faith, as a ruthless and cruel monarch once again. Vasil was captured, blinded, and had his ears filled with molten lead, and his 3 sons, Levente, Andrew and Bela, were driven out and expelled from the kingdom. There are competing accounts of the reason for this atrocity, with some suggesting Vasil was part of a conspiracy and failed putsch against the king. After Stephen's death in August 1038, his kingdom was riven for decades with invasions, civil wars and pagan uprisings. The turbulence was ended in 1077 when Vasil's grandson, Ladislaus, also of the Arpad Dynasty, became king. He restored order through gratuitous violence and maintained property rights with mutilation and death for criminals. Despite the bloodshed, however, the Kingdom of Hungary was born. That's it for this video. Don't forget to like, share, and most importantly subscribe. And you can also support the channel on Subscribestar via the link in the description. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.